This, my friends, this is what I believe is the best air hose coupler you can buy. I've tried virtually all of them available, and this is my favorite. And let me explain some of the reasons I prefer this to any other coupler in the market. Number one, it has a built-in flexible joint, which makes a huge difference, because then it makes the air tool you're using feel lighter, because it eliminates or seriously reduces the amount of resistance from the hose. So now I wind up using a regular rubber hose because it feels more like a lightweight polyethylene hose because of the freedom of the movement of the tool itself. So the hose becomes less of a factor, which is a big deal. The other thing is that makes this coupler very unique is the fact that it doesn't use steel balls inside. It has 8 resin balls of polymer resin inside, and they're very, very lowly stressed. And they act like shock absorbers and bearings at the same time. So because of that, you can use this coupler directly connected to tools like air hammers, air chisels, and impact wrenches like this without having to use a whip hose. There's no real advantage of using a whip hose with this coupler. Well, that's also a really big deal. So you can see even at full pressure that there's no resistance to rotation, so there's less torque applied to your wrist. It makes it feel lighter and easier. Everything moves freely. There's nothing else like that. So that's really a big deal. The other thing is it's extremely easy to connect and disconnect. Some couplers in the market are ridiculous, especially the worst of these high flows, which there's so much force to connect them and disconnect them. This thing is the easiest I've ever seen to connect. Super easy to connect and disconnect. I've got some of the newer ones, some of the that I recently tested, where I can't even connect them. It takes so much force. Even at 100 psi, I can barely connect them, and they're just as hard to disconnect. So those things are a joke. Whereas this is super easy. How easy it is. Very, very easy. Another thing about this coupler is designed to accept only M-style plugs. And there's a reason for that. The reason is because it's optimized to be as leak tight as possible. Couplers that attempt to seal, say, true flates, M-styles, aero styles, high flows, they all have problems with leaking because all the plugs are somewhat incompatible, and it's a no-win situation trying to seal them all equally well. For example, you get it to fit one, fits tightly, less likely to leak. Another one, because it's a different dimension, has more play in there, more likely to leak. But they don't tell you that. So this is designed to be optimized for maximum leak tightness for life. So there's so many good things about this coupler, it's not even funny. I mean, it's why I find it superior. Another thing about it is I find that the pressure drop inside this coupler is very, very low. It's a significantly lower pressure drop than you find in standard couplers with the pullback collars, the ones that have been around forever. Yeah, those have a very, very high pressure drop with higher flow tools. So I find there's no need for high flow plugs, because high flow plugs really have they have their pluses, but their pluses really don't apply in situations where you're using common air tools, because the air flow is not high enough to take advantage of the large bore in those big high flow plugs. So it's meaningless. They give you specs like 70, 80 cubic feet per minute when you can't even begin to get that much flow through a hose. So the actual improvement in performance using standard tools is minimal. And when you switch to these higher flow plugs, they don't seal very well or don't work at all with standard plugs. So you have to throw all your standard ones out. Or sometimes you'll try to use the standard plugs in your high flow couplers and they'll leak. So I find there's no need for them whatsoever. Unless I'm using some tool like a 3/4, maybe a 1-inch impact with a 1/2-inch hose or a 3/4 hose, yeah, then they have their place. But the idea of putting these high flow plugs with a 1/4-inch MPTs on their pipe threads designed for 3/8 hoses is absurd. To me, it just makes no sense at all. So there you have it. That's what I think. My opinion, I'm sticking to it.